guys, it's John McNamara, host right in Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, real estate. I'm with co-host Mr.
Rodriguez. Always happy to be here, sir.
Thanks for being on, man.
Of course.
And we have a special guest today, one of the best yoga instructors in the Valley, Francesca Derviso.
Derviso. Yay.
Did I do it right?
Thank you, guys. Yes, you did. With the hands and everything.
Good. I've been practicing for the last 15 seconds before the pod.
Yeah, I made them do that.
Yeah. I like
Every
it.
time you say her last name, you automatically get a glass of wine poured.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, yeah,
You're
that's
saying
what
your
it means to
name
be
a lot then
Italian.
today.
Okay, love it.
So let's get into you. Let's learn a little bit more where you're from,
Yeah.
how'd you get into yoga, tell us about it.
All right, so I grew up in California, Southern California, Inland Empire area. I like to be specific. Although I worked a lot in Orange County, I'm from Inland Empire, so I'm proud of that. But anyways, I lived there pretty much my whole life, and I moved here in 2017. I started in real estate very quickly in the corporate space at Berkshire Hathaway, which is where you guys used to be, so that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then from there, I really started to deepen my practice. I moved in with 3 of my best friends. And one of them was going through yoga teacher training at the time. And I just got to witness her evolution and just everything that she was able to transform into. And at the time, I was practicing a lot with her, and I very much enjoyed it, but I didn't really understand how deep yoga really went outside of just the physical until I witnessed her transformation. And really that was the catalyst to my deeper practice from 2017 on. I did yoga while I lived in California, but it wasn't very much until I got here. And yeah, that's kind of my start with yoga, is really since I moved here.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, started to deepen my practice from there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we really enjoy. We've taken a couple of your classes
Yes,
and have
it's been
enjoyed
fun.
it, and
Yeah.
absolutely. So tell us more. Yeah, tell us more about the yoga journey now, and I know you kind of use it for like real estate too, to meet people. Tell us more about that.
So while being on your guys' team, you guys inspired me to do a free yoga on the lawn here in Summerlin, and that's been super successful. So I really did use that. I used yoga as a catalyst to kind of build my own list and be, with real estate, you want to be somebody that people like, know, and trust, right? And I feel like utilizing my biggest skill, which is as a yoga instructor, and kind of letting that be the catalyst to bringing more people into my space and knowing more people and getting people to know me and not be a secret agent. Yoga has been really great for that. So yeah, I do yoga in the park once a month. I'm skipping this month because it's crazy hot.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So I think I'm going to do a sunrise one next month, so that'll
that'd
be
be
fun.
beautiful.
Yeah, so I'll let you guys know. I already made the flyer, so I'll send it to you. But yeah, so starting with more of my journey, witnessing my friend, my roommate at the time, go through her transformation. She went through a specific teacher that she used to own the studio downtown. I now work at that studio, but that's where she did her training, and it never really aligned for me to start my training from that point to until I started it, like financially wise, and just the dates that it fell into. It just never made sense for me until, then COVID hit and she stopped doing in-person trainings altogether. So I just kind of felt like, oh shoot, like I'm not gonna be able to do what I wanted, at least with that specific training. So then out of the blue, she posted that she was doing her last in-person training in Boulder City, and I was like, I just got to do it. And I pulled the trigger and I did it, and I dropped the money and I showed up, and it was the best decision I ever made, because now she is my mentor in the yoga space. I not only teach and have had opportunities to teach at different festivals and things of that nature, but now I work with her. So other aspiring yoga teachers that are coming on doing her online training that she provides, I do a lot of their guidance, and I grade their practicums and things like that. So my journey is really kind of expanded from just practicing yoga to then teaching yoga, and now I'm doing so much more with yoga, and it's just been not only great for me to build my list on a real estate perspective, but it's just been really fun to like learn the different ways that I can incorporate yoga as like an actual energy abundance.
So I have like a couple questions.
Yeah.
So what, like personally, what has yoga like done for you, like spiritually and all that? Also, you know, what is the training? I know you kind of talked about like what does training like entail to actually be a yoga instructor as well?
It's a lot. It's physically demanding as well as mentally demanding. So you do have to do a 200-hour first off to get certified at all.
Yeah.
And that is in person, and that's what I did. It was Friday nights, and then all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and then Wednesday evenings. So that was kind of what my schedule was for 10 weeks. And so it was very physically demanding because you are learning all of the asanas, which means postures in Sanskrit. And so you're learning all of the physical aspects, but it's also mentally draining in the sense that you're learning the philosophy behind it. You're growing spiritually, really, and you're learning a lot of like what this mental and spiritual body consists of. If you're not like aware of it at first, you get really introduced to that. I was aware of it because I practiced for quite some time, but then diving more into it and training, again, I got to witness my friend go through this evolution, and I was able to really see what that evolution looked like within my own practice. So the training is a lot, but it's definitely worth it. If anybody is wanting to do any type of training, let me know. Hook you up.
I am curious, before we keep going, I know you witnessed your friend kind of going through that evolution, but how, like if you were to say prior to seeing that, what would you have considered your yoga experience? Like, do you think like you nibbled with it for a little bit, or were you like practicing it weekly, or how involved were you prior to seeing that, you know? Just out of curiosity, like.
Yeah, I was an avid practicer, person who practiced. I practiced a lot, and I did it more for fun though. So like, I know how you guys go to True Fusion a couple times a week. That's essentially what my schedule was. I was very often at True Fusion, and I really enjoyed a number of teachers that teach there, that still teach there now, and that was really what my practice looked like before. And I did a lot. Like when you do 200-hour training, you also have to do X amount of hours of practice on your own. So she had to do all of this practice, and I just kind of was along for the ride. She'd be like, hey, want to go to yoga class tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, cool. So it just kind of made it even like easier for me to practice more with her because she was in that training. But yeah, I did it a lot.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, I know too, like over the last 6 months you've done a lot of traveling, you do clinics, so like tell us about that.
Yeah, so my yoga teacher, shout out to Angelica, I'm sure she'll see this because she always supports me, she's awesome, but she has given me those opportunities to really start teaching in a different type of space. So we've done the Sedona Yoga Festival, we did the Fort Lauderdale Yoga Expo, and then we're actually hosting a adjustments and assist intensive weekend here in Las Vegas at her studio that she used to own. She sold it now, but she still works there. And so that's another thing that we're going to be doing. So it's like a whole weekend long where avid yoga teachers will come, and we teach them like the best way to do adjustments and assists and be like the best, just level up in their teaching. It's almost like continuing education as a realtor. It's continuing education as a yoga instructor. So you attend these different types of intensives or festivals or whatever, and you learn a lot more, and we are there to teach that specific aspect to these teachers. So it'll be fun. I've done a lot.
That's cool how it's always evolving, right? Well, there's always something to learn, and there's always something to practice and network with other folks.
I love that you get to travel all those cool places.
I know,
too.
it's awesome.
Sedona, and that's pretty neat.
Yeah, we're actually going back to Sedona in August as well because we're hosting a yoga retreat. I think I'd mentioned this to you guys a little while ago, but yeah, we got a house. We have about 10 or 11 people that'll be there, and we have a little schedule. We'll start with pranayama, and that is another part of yoga. It's another part of the 8 limbs of yoga. There's 8 limbs. It's more than just the postures. There's a lot to learn. But pranayama is like breathing and meditation, not specifically, but more like breathing techniques. So in the mornings at the retreat, we'll start off with pranayama and maybe some music, and then we'll have like a break, and then we'll do a full practice, and then we'll have another break where you can go hiking and swimming, whatever you want to do on a leisure scale, and then we'll come back together and we'll do like a meditation and then some type of workshop. And I think we're doing adjustments as assist is one of them. Acro, I think, is one of them. So yeah, lots of different spaces.
I don't want to be a yoga instructor, but I just want to go to this clinic.
Oh, I want to go to all the classes.
Yeah, people go that are not instructors for sure.
Really?
Yeah, like at the Yoga Expo and the Sedona Yoga Festival, like there were so many people that are not yoga instructors, instructors. They'll just go and like take all of the classes. They'll learn new things. Maybe the intensive that's happening in Vegas won't necessarily be the most valuable for you because it is learning how to like adjust people in class. So that's not really what you're looking for. But other things you can definitely go, like a yoga retreat. Like when I went to Costa Rica back in October, I'd gone to Costa Rica on a yoga retreat. And at our facility, we had 2 yoga retreats going on. It was ours and then another one. But they were more cacao-based. Are you guys familiar with cacao?
No. Like the chocolate?
Yeah, it's like chocolate. But it's ceremonial.
Okay.
So
I thought you were joking.
No, but it is. It's chocolate. You're right. But anyways, they were more focused on that. And so none of them were yoga instructors. They did yoga, but they were there solely for the experience and to learn more about yoga and cacao specifically, and so you can definitely come if you're not an instructor.
Oh, that's cool. No, that's good to know. Okay.
So for the person that's not really familiar with yoga, like how would you what would be how would you explain the different types of yoga to somebody that's not really involved in the community, or what are they? Because I'm kind of clueless a little bit myself, even though I think I practice it quite often.
Yeah, I think you know a little bit more than you think, just because I know what you practice. So my favorite is Vinyasa practice, and that is moving with the breath, so body and movement with one breath. That's your typical if you're local to Vegas and you've gone to True Fusion and taken a Vinyasa class, and you'll kind of know it's a little bit more quicker paced. But one breath, one movement is the idea of Vinyasa. And then you have something called Ashtanga. Ashtanga is very much a set sequence. It's very, very strength building. It's actually very difficult. And that practice, you're holding the postures a little bit longer, and you're not deviating from the set sequence in any way, shape, or form. So that is more of what Ashtanga looks like, kind of similar to Hatha. So Hatha is a similar concept, except they don't have a set sequence. You're just holding posture. So for example, a basic one would be Warrior One. You're holding Warrior One for maybe 10 breaths rather than one breath, inhale up, exhale down like you would in a Vinyasa class. So those are more of your like quicker paced type of
more active.
More active, good, more active. And then you'll go down to your slower ones like Yin Yoga. I know True Fusion does a lot of yin yoga. They mostly do it in the hot room, and spoiler alert, it's not meant to be in a hot room. Traditionally, yin yoga is meant to be actually in a room.
I'm done with True Fusion.
Well, not to bag on them in any way, shape, or form. They're amazing, but I'm just saying, like spoiler alert. It is kind of nice. It does have its benefits, I will say, because it does open up your muscles, and you kind of feel like you can be a little bit more bendy and relaxed and whatnot. But technically, it's meant for a colder room, for you to really be able to get into the fascia in the body. So the fascia, just very quickly, is it's like a web-like substance, so to speak, that covers our muscles and our bones and our joints and kind of keeps everything in place. So it's what really allows us to, when you go to a yoga class, they tell you like create space, like inhale and like open yourself up and create space, maybe in the side body or whatever that looks like. That's essentially the idea behind it. Is we want to like start to break down that fascia so that you're not tight in a specific area. So maybe, for example, if you work a typical 9-to-5 job and you're sitting down all of the time, and after many, many years, if you look at a typical lifestyle of somebody like that, they are, maybe they'll wake up after 8 hours of sleep, they'll sit down and have breakfast, then they'll sit down in their car, they'll commute, then they'll sit down at their desk for 8 hours and kind of do the whole thing over again. So over time, you'll get like, pain or just tightness around the hip areas, because naturally that's their more sedentary posture for many years. And then if you really start to work that out with yin yoga specifically, you sit in one posture for at least 10 to 15 breaths, and you kind of allow gravity to like pull your fascia apart so that you can break that down and find more length. And then eventually, the more that you practice that, the more that you'll be able to release that pain or release anything that is sitting there. So little lesson there on yin.
That's great. Now I see why you have no chairs in the office, bro.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
Standing on.
Standing desks are life.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any books or anything you could recommend to folks? books? Or
Yes. If you are looking more for the spiritual side or want to learn more on the spiritual and mental body of what yoga can provide, Eastern Body, Western Mind. I can't think of the person who writes it, but it's a big book. It almost looks like a textbook, but it goes through all of the chakras as well, which I think could be for another time. But because you can go in depth for forever on the chakras, but that's a really great one. It goes in depth. Not only does it talk about the body postures, but it does really coincide the spiritual and the philosophy aspect of yoga. So that's a really great one. And then as far, I don't really know any at the top of my head for yoga specifically, but there are, like, if you're an aspiring teacher, there is a yoga sequencing book. His name, I think, is Mark Stevens. You can find it on Amazon. But that goes really in depth on different postures. He also has like a deck where it'll tell you each posture in like they're divided in like standing postures, seated postures, inversions, and you can kind of see what they look like or what they're meant to look like, and then it'll give you all of its benefits and how to get into it and what muscles you're working and things like that. So those are probably my two biggest ones I would suggest.
Wow.
Very cool. Gotta check them out.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to, I feel like Vinyasa is really hard. It's not an easy class to handle. Like the yins, I love, because it's just, to me, it's more holding positions, holding stretches for a longer period of time, and it really helps me calm the mind, all of that, and focus on my breathing. But Vinyasa is just, it's a tough class.
Yeah.
It is. You don't expect it.
No,
right?
you don't. You think you're doing yoga, and all of a sudden you show up, and it's like, no, you're going at it. I would say it's probably just as challenging as a barefoot or a boot camp or Pilates class.
Yeah.
It's just as challenging.
Yeah, I remember the first couple of classes, I'm like, I'm doing yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
This is gonna be easy. 15 minutes in, like, what did I get myself into? How do I not pass out?
Especially in those hot rooms.
Right? Oh my gosh,
At first, I didn't know, the difference. I was a little, I wasn't very familiar with them, so I would work out previously, knowing like, I'm just going to do a yoga class after, so it'll be kind of like my cool down, stretching afterwards, and I'll sign up for a Vinyasa, not knowing the difference between Vinyasa and a yin or whatever. And it was painful. Yeah.
What people don't know about yoga is that you're literally supposed to activate all of your muscles in your body. So like, for example, one thing that I really love to cue, it's called Tadasana. So it's mountain pose, and it's your standard, just you're standing up with your arms down by your side. So you would think that's a very passive posture, when in actuality, or at least with yoga, if you're practicing properly, you are literally engaging everything. You're pressing through the feet, you're bringing the kneecaps up, you're tucking your pelvis forward and up, you're hollowing out your low belly, you're stitching your front ribs in, you're pushing your tailbone down, your arms are energized, your shoulder blades have to be together, shoulder blades have to come down, like everything is on. So like, even in just a standard, what would be like, I'm just standing here kind of pose, you're really not. Like, you really should be working every muscle that you have.
Yeah, I don't do that. This is the time to rest.
That's Shavasana. That's at the end.
Okay.
That's you can take your nap.
No, there's been plenty of times where I'm, in a class, even if it's a yin class, just very relaxing, and you're holding a pose, and then the instructor will be like, make sure you release your jaw or like smile, and then when I hear it, I'm like, okay, I'm not like, my jaw is not tight, but then the minute I smile, I feel it. I'm like, oh wow, like my whole face is tight, like it's just my entire body, right? Because you're doing everything you can to just kind of keep that pose, and at the same time not move, relax, and
it's such an interesting yoga is just so interesting, because I've probably taken at least over 100 classes, and every time I learn something new, and just like that, what you just explained, you'll go to yoga class, but I'm not doing that. And they could do that for every teacher is different, and they teach, their style is different. So I learned something new every single time, but it is very, there's a lot going on with every move. And that's one thing I struggle with too. I don't like activate everything all the time. So, and it's real easy too, to kind of like go through the motions, but you just, great reminder. So
love that.
With that in mind, I'm sure you deal with like the public a lot. So do you have like a favorite part of yoga and your least favorite part of yoga, or is it all favorites? Or you could be honest here, because because sometimes I'm in class and people are disruptive, or like I specifically like to hang out after class, just mellowing out, and people start talking right away, and that triggers me. Yeah. And I'm like, that's bad because I'm supposed to be relaxed, but I'm already, but so do you have any favorite and least favorite?
So honestly, I like a lot about yoga, and on the same page, I'm very picky about the types of teachers I go to for that reason, because I guess what I don't like is, to your point, that same idea. Yeah. I think that everything should be left outside of the four walls when you walk into a yoga space. Like, nothing else should be relevant in that time frame. Engaging with your instructor, please do, because sometimes it's awkward, so please talk to us, especially before class. It's fun. But during class, like for me specifically, the way that I like to teach is I want you to go on a journey, so to speak. Like, I don't want to pull you out by we have fun, don't get me wrong, I'll crack jokes here and there. If you laugh, you do. If you don't, then I guess I think I'm funny, but it's fine. but I do my best to keep you in your inner world. Right. And once you finish class, that is probably also something that I don't like, is the immediate, like, okay, what are we going to go eat? Or what's happening now? Or, or like making inappropriate comments or things that just don't make sense for the space. Like, do that after you leave the space. And I would say, as a practicer, as a person who practice when I'm practicing, that would be the thing that I don't like the most. And then as an instructor, I would say kind of the same thing, but more of like when people don't respect the yoga space. So if somebody comes in late and they're just a little disruptive when they walk in, and I'm over here trying to create a vibe, so to speak, for everybody, and I want everybody to stay in their own space, and then people can get pulled out very quickly, and that's not my intention when you take a class of mine, at least. So
it is very important. Like the instructor, like I pick and choose, and I'll I do go to True Fusion. They have like 3 locations, and I don't care. Distance is not an issue to me. It's just about who's teaching it. So that's always important.
It makes a big difference who the instructor is, for sure. Yeah, you get a lot more out of those classes. Energy, everything. The way they speak, to how they teach you how to do things, just how you explained everything. Some instructors, they don't do that.
No.
So if you're a newbie, you're just kind of going through the motions. But those details make such a big difference.
Definitely. Yeah, I would agree. And if you guys if there's anybody who is looking to start getting into yoga, I would definitely start with at least taking a class of every kind. So like a Vinyasa class, a Yin class, maybe Ashtanga if you really want to try. It's not that hard. It's just that there's a lot going on, and it's a set sequence. So it's just, it can be challenging. But I would suggest you taking one of those classes from different teachers and seeing who you resonate with the most, because not everybody is for everybody, right? So that goes in the real estate world as well as in a yoga space. So once you find somebody you resonate with is really important.
Cool.
I do have a question that I don't think we wrote down.
No, you're going to throw one at me, Ron?
Come from left field over here.
We both want to know. Is there an important... Well,
do I know this question?
Talk about this on the way here? What's going on?
Is there an importance to having your socks off?
Oh my God.
When you're practicing, I am curious. No. It's like, I feel like I see it quite often, especially, you could tell when someone's new and they're practicing for the first time. And I feel like it comes up quite often where they keep their shoes on or their socks on. And
I don't feel comfortable.
But. No, of course. I wouldn't feel comfortable in a room full of strangers as well. Yeah. But is there an importance to it, or is it just?
I would say that's a two-parter. So the first one is. It's not the most comfortable to practice in, to be honest. There are some people I've seen with, if you go to a reformer's class, if you guys are familiar with Pilates reformer, those socks have the grips underneath, so they're very important so that you don't hurt yourself, right? And you can use those kinds of socks. I've seen people do it on yoga mats because it helps them not slip. Maybe they have issues with that, and, to each their own. But for the most part, I would say it's not very comfortable. And then if you're looking on more of the esoteric, maybe spiritual side of things, you can't really ground because you have a barrier with your feet. So in my opinion, you definitely want to have a mat that is sustainable, that is made from, earth materials, so that when you are practicing, you do have more of a sense of grounding, and that's part of practicing yoga. So yeah, keeping your socks off, I think is important.
Socks off.
Yeah. All right.
I agree though too, because like it's very distracting for myself, where I can't pay attention if I'm slipping and sliding around. So the mat
pulls you out.
Everything, the mat, not having socks. It's like I want to be stable when I'm doing it and feel everything. So.
For sure. Okay,
Great.
that's good to know. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
So tell us more about you and your goals over the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, I'm going to say this because you guys know this. I've said this many times, but I'm going to have a piece of land with babies and chickens, and I'm going to have a porch where I can drink my coffee and watch the sunrise. So that's one of my
I love that.
that's one of my main goals out there. But overall, I guess to that point, I really want to be able to own my own studio one day. If we're thinking more on the yoga scale, what I've been doing with my yoga teacher, Angelica, she's already has this business in place and has had it for many years now. But we've been working together so well, and a lot of her students really have come to like and know me, and eventually we would love to build it to a point where that would be almost passive income online for us. And then I would like to open my own studio and kind of make it my own, and not only have yoga classes, but I'm also going to get my Pilates reformer certification soon in the next year or so. So I guess that's part of that. So I would love to bring reformers into the space, and then even use it as just like a wellness space where I can do really anything related to wellness. Really just have an open space for people to come to and feel a sense of community through yoga. And then on that same note, obviously real estate is definitely key to my heart, but eventually I would love to just do that on a referral basis.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And own a yoga studio and have my babies and chickens. So
I love that.
Show up to one of the classes, you get some free eggs. Dozen
that's a great
eggs.
idea.
We'll
Yes.
sign up to your studio when it happens.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We're excited
My
for you.
long-term goal is to become an instructor, so you'll have to hire me for sure.
Wonderful.
Is that really one of your goals?
I would like to, yeah.
I
At
didn't
least
know that.
say that I experienced it.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily if I'd do yoga, because initially when the thought came to mind, I was thinking Pilates, something active.
Yeah.
I just love
the boot camp or something. Mhm,
I just
could see
love
that.
the aspect of putting a playlist together and seeing the
That's
reaction.
my favorite. Oh, I didn't even say that. So that's probably one of my favorites, because honestly, I get one of the most feedbacks from my playlists,
Yeah.
and my love language is music. I love music. I've always been one to feel very resonant to music and cinema. Really, film and music are my favorite things. But curating a playlist and curating a vibe for the space is so fun for me. And as a yoga instructor, one thing that I learned the most, that I would say, is that I learned how to really hold a room and carry a room, and music and playlists and creating that vibe is definitely a part of that. So
Absolutely. You do a
That's
great
fun.
job with your classes. We really enjoy
thank you.
them.
Yes,
for
thank
sure.
you. I love having you guys.
Great job, yeah.
Yeah,
we'll
it's
have
fun.
to go to Boulder City or downtown one of these days for sure.
Yeah, you got the sunrise, right?
That'd be-
So
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing that right after I come back from my yoga retreat next month. So I'll be freshly enlightened, so to speak. So it should be no socks allowed. But it should be fun. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
So, what do you do for fun? Besides, obviously yoga is fun, but besides real estate, what do you do in your personal life? What do you?
Well, to that same point, I love music. So any music festival or concert that I can attend is definitely a fun thing for me. I very much enjoy doing things like that. I tend to rate my years based on music.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, wow,
it's
okay.
it's a little bit different, but I'll look back and be like, oh, I saw this person. Like this year I started with 50 Cent.
Oh,
and that was really cool. So I was just saying,
That's
this year
really
was
cool.
a pretty good, off to a good start. But anyways, I go to music festivals. I love to spend time with my family naturally. I'm Italian, so we're very close. And honestly, these days has been with my puppy. So we've been learning each other, and it's been really fun, and really just spending time with her has been great. So
Congrats on the puppy.
Thank
She's
you.
Super cute.
I know, she's so cute. I love
That's
her.
very exciting.
Thank
So-
you.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up. Thank you, Mr. Rodrigo Best and the Biz co-host. And if you're looking at yoga, real estate, Fran is your gal. Guys, this is John McNamara, host around in Vegas. Take care of yourselves today.